Good morning, you guys. Welcome to Friday, May 23rd. Just want to, if you go to radicalfinancialconcepts.com, you can register for the Wealth Transfer Masterclass. That's going to be taking place on Thursday. We had to change the date. Thursday at 7 p.m. East Coast time. Just scroll to the page, go down here, and you click to register. All right. Okay, let's look at our news. And today, this morning, there was no news. I guess new home sales coming out at 10. I do want to say this. I follow, not follow, but I'm a part of a couple of different communities. And this morning, someone was sending out messages and like, oh no, the market's down, blah, blah, blah. And, I read it, and it's so important for you to understand that if you read this kind of stuff or you hear this kind of stuff, it's easy to have fear, right? Because all they're seeing is one moment in time. And none of it really matters because we're in the pre market right now. We're 40 minutes from the market opening. And when the market opens, it's the collective fear, hope, and greed that we trade off of and capitalize on. Okay. So don't ever get hung up on the new. This is why we always do the same thing. We look at the general market news, but today there seems to be very little except for at 10. Then we're going to read what people are writing, and there's many sources. I use FinViz. Dow futures tumble 400 as Trump threatens new tariffs. There we go. So this is why the markets just came down, because Trump threatened new tariffs. Apple with tariff, but sold in the U.S. elsewhere. Dow Jones there 500 points. Okay, so look at this. It's interesting. At 8:36, Dow futures tumble 500 points. 9 minutes later, 11 minutes later, it's come up 100 points. So it's 400, now it's only 400 points down, right? So anyway, let's look at the charts and see what the hell's going on, because at the end of the day, what people say, people do, people think is actually completely meaningless. Okay, so let's look at sort by change. What do? We normally just sort by, I guess. Okay, so this is the VIX right now, and looks like it's climbing, and that makes sense, right? People are scared. So if you'd gotten any call options here, you'd be in the money for sure by now. Gold is going back up. Oh, and look at this. We have a trade on here, don't we? So it looks like on Wednesday we started a trade, and today we are here. Now, of course, you guys have heard me talk about the limitations of this. I want to move the stop, right? But this software or whatever, this indicator, is not going to let me take the stop. See, if I take the stop and I move it up, that's as far as it lets me go, right? But in reality, what I want to do is I want to have the stop right around there. So let's do this. Let's do that, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to make a little hash mark here, a little ray, horizontal array. Maybe this is it. We'll say this right there. Okay, so we'll say this spot here, we'll make it red, and we'll say stop loss placed on 523. All right, text alignment top right. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so there we go. And style should be red. That's our stop. Okay, so now we know that although we know that our start was here, this is where we got in, this is where our stop is, and this is where the current price is. So even if the price comes and hits our stop, we're still made the profit from here to here. All right, I hope that makes sense, and sort of kind of ass backwards in doing it, but like this, but I just can't take that stop loss any. If I can move the stop loss higher, but then I have to move the start. I'd have to move the start higher also. Starting whatever. Okay, bonds, 20-year bonds. Yesterday they sank, and then yesterday they were here. I don't know if you remember this, but in the pre-market they were here. It was a nice strong bullish candle, and now it's going back up. Still below the T line. I'd stay away from it personally. Silver is above the T line, but it's still way too close. Not really doing a whole lot. The Qs, this makes total sense. I guess we got into a trade yesterday. Maybe not. I don't know. I guess we can get into trade because I don't see any notes. Let me just delete that. So you can see that whatever happened, this announcement with President Trump right now, right, 37 minutes before the market opens, the market is trading down here. But again, people have not come into the market. I've got to emphasize that the volume first 2 hours is going to be high. They'll be high again the last hour. So you've got to wait and watch to see what happens. Right? So we know that this so far we're above the T line, but again, news is going to trump any sort of technical indicators. No pun intended. So just be very, very alert. And again, I'm talking to people who are traders, right? I'm not talking to if you're as an investor. If you have money going in through your 401k into some fund or whatever, or you got some money market manager, pretty much everything I say is, blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about those of you who are self-directed and you have trade management rules. You got a little pot of money. You want to trade. You're willing to trade, $1 to make $2-3, right? Or proportionally speaking. That's who I'm talking to. So you wait until the market opens. Dr. Copper. So I don't know. I drew this because it kind of seems like it's a triangle, but I don't really know which way it's gonna go. I think this is eventually, guys, the price of copper is going up a lot higher because I think eventually when all this tariff stuff blows over and everything works its way through the system, there will be a lot more prosperity, a lot more building, and a lot more need for copper, which will cause the price to shoot up. But that's not there now. Bitcoin looks like that's kind of a strange looking candle. Look like that a lot of selling happened and then buyers have come back in. This is the dominance, right? So that just tells me that it's not Bitcoin is still a better deal than I don't even know why I look at dominance, to be honest with you. I mean, I just stay with Bitcoin. Spiders, same thing as the Qs, right? This must have been the news that President Trump talked about. Same thing here. This is the Dow, and this is, I guess, we are below the T line now. But you gotta wait, right? Because guys, here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, we could start here. This is okay. So the candle right now, the pricing is here, right? It could just as well. Start here and do one of these numbers, right? And form a green, I don't know, that's supposed to be a green candle. It could do that, or it could turn around and right now everyone feels like, oh my gosh, the sky's falling. It could do this and it could be one of those big old fat hairy red candles that we see so often like this one here, right? So we just don't know. And so you don't want to be taking any bets. You don't want to make any plans. I will say this though, it's kind of an advanced trading strategy. I will say this though, if you have the skills, you want to be selling volatility. Okay, you want to sell volatility because the implied volume is high on that right now. So okay, IWM. So all four indexes are doing the same thing. They're going to gap down lower, but they could shoot back up. And then as well as I do, President Trump said something and this happened. He could say something again and it could turn right back around. Right? Who knows? The 10-year yield has gone down a bit, down to 4.48. I mean, that's the right trend. That's the wrong trend. So the market is telling us that there's fear and people want a higher return on the money that they're loaning the government. Okay, crude light. By the way, I just said something important that you may have missed. Right. So when bonds are sold, okay, they're sold by the government to bond buyers through bond auctions, and there's a phenomenon where there's not enough bond buyers for the debt that the government is trying to sell. And so the Federal Reserve steps in and they become the buyer of last resort. Okay. That's not advantageous. And the environment President Trump is creating is that when those bond auctions come, people, common guys like you and I, we can buy them, but there's just not enough money coming in from us. So that's why they need to go to other sources. So President Trump's trying to reverse that. Okay, crude light should be coming down. Yep, there it is. It's coming down, but you can see we're in this up and down wave, kind of a range deal, right? So we're in this, but the bottom part of the range. Here's the top of the range, right here-ish, somewhere in there. And so nothing to do. So in the gap, it's a $5 gap back and forth. Now, if you're trading futures, you can make a ton of money up, a ton of money down. But if you don't do futures, and I don't recommend futures unless you know what the hell you're doing, because with futures you can get wiped out fast. Solana is above the T line. It looks like it wants to stay above the T line, but it's still too close to the T line. If I look at a bigger picture, yeah, we're still in that significant resistance area. Bitcoin, what the hell's going on here? Oh, this was okay. So this was yesterday. This was a position I got in there, and I got out there. Okay, so man, all these freaking notes on my charts. Okay, so this trade is out and dead. But on a daily chart, I believe if I look at a 5-minute chart, it's more visible. More visible what I did. There we go. There we go. Oh, I think I remember this. Yeah, I do. I think the timestamps are wrong. I believe this timestamp is wrong and this timestamp is wrong. But you can see that was just a trade I placed. But now if you look in a daily chart, you can see that. Let's look at the daily chart. There we go. What do we see? Today's candle is a nice big fat red candle, but look at the very, very end of it. Now, granted, we still have 11 hours for the candle to finish, but look at that, guys. It went all the way to the T line, hit the T line, and then came back up. So the most latest data on this candle's formation is that the sellers came in right at yesterday's close and they sold off hard, but they didn't sell off hard enough to get below the T line because near the T line, the buyers step back in and they're pushing the price up higher. Okay, so this is definitely something to watch. The battle is not over. If you look on a 1-hour chart, you will see that. Just kind of ignore these two. Actually, can I do this? There we go. This is the area I'm talking about right here, right? So this is the all-time high, kept going here. It was a fight on an hourly chart. It looks like we're below the T line, but then, we got support here. This is pretty significant support on an hourly timeline. Then there's some more support here. And this is pretty significant. You can see how significant that is, right? So there's a lot of good things happening, but you want to, again, if you want to trade Bitcoin, what I'd be doing is I'd have a big view. And I don't know if I can show you here. No, I thought maybe I could show you here. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you want to have two screens. Should I say it? Let me show it to you. I'd rather show you than tell you. All right, so here's Bitcoin, same chart, exact same chart. But in this view, I'm looking at a 5-minute chart. Okay, this is a 5-minute chart. And in this view, it's a day chart. So it gives me two perspectives. This tells me where I am in relation to the T line. And you can see that's this spot right here, right? So on this right side, as I go to the T line, look where my cursor is on the left side, and there's the bottom, right? That's that green candle. And then it came back up, and that's where we are right now, okay? So what is this telling us? This tells us this is the microscopic view of what's happening in the market, and then this is telling us the big picture. For me personally, I'm going to wait till, I don't know, but with Bitcoin, it's really interesting because people say, yeah, I trade Bitcoin, but they don't trade Bitcoin. They're trading the ETFs that have a correlation to Bitcoin, but the ETFs trade as an equity, from 9:30 to 4 on Monday through Friday, whereas Bitcoin is going to trade 24/7. And some people have Coinbase accounts, and some people have Gemini and Kraken accounts and all that stuff, and that's fine. And I do too, but I also use decentralized platforms where there's no need for identity, know your customer identity stuff. And so I can trade 24/7. So I'm going to be watching this very carefully. It looks like it's come down just a little bit while I was talking, but I'm going to be watching this carefully because there could be an opportunity this weekend. Because remember, it's this Friday, 4 o'clock, markets close, 6 o'clock, everything closes till Sunday night. And but the crypto markets stay open the whole time. And I've heard they're going to have some sort of 24/7 trading sometime, but whatever. If the Wall Street guys are involved in it, man, then you're getting robbed blind. All right, guys, that's all I got. Catch you on the flip side. Adios.